Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Drop It Down from the Rafters podcast here on Tone In Entertainment. Wow, today I have to be extra pumped because not only do we have a special guest down below, but also joining me co-hosting once again on that side right there, Julie Cutler. How you doing, Julie?
I'm back. I am doing very well, Tony. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for having me back on the show. I know it's been a hot minute since we've done some interviews together, and I've been really excited to hop back on this bandwagon this week. And I am especially excited because we have an awesome guest today, somebody who is highly respected in the business of professional wrestling and someone who's been a very dear friend of mine. He is hailing from the prestigious Lee, Massachusetts, weighing in at 210 pounds. He is the extraordinary Chico Adams.
Thanks. So you can't tell because I just got a spray tan. I'm actually blushing right now. With the
Yeah.
spray tan.
Chico, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you and Tony had actually done an interview about 4 years ago now, back in 2020. And so a lot has changed since then, obviously. And we're really excited to catch up with you on everything that's happening in your career now, everything that's transpired these past 4 years.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Let's go for it.
I was gonna say that all my past 2 months guests are gonna be very upset because I cannot introduce anybody like Julie can. You hit the home run tonight. Yes.
And so I wanted to dive right in because I've been looking through your body of work. I know your body of work pretty well, and you've done quite a lot of stuff these past several years. We've seen you in pretty well featured spots as an extra for WWE on Raw, SmackDown, NXT. We've seen you on AEW Dynamite a couple of times. We've seen you at the NWA. And I know that you actually have a couple of pretty high profile matches coming up. One with Bobby Fish that is just coming up within these next couple of weeks. And I saw that you had posted a promo with a message for Bobby. So how are you doing, being so busy and preparing for this high profile match that you have coming up?
Well, I take training very seriously. As you know, I have the fortune and the honor to train with TJ Wilson and Natalia every week at their private facility. Of course, we train with a lot of WWE talent, some top independent wrestlers, people from other companies as well. So I never miss a training unless I'm like out of state doing a booking. So yeah, I've been training hard every week, studying some matches. I've never actually wrestled Bobby Fish before, but I'm looking forward to the challenge of that. He brings a lot of experience to the table, and he's actually from Albany, New York, not too far from the highly prestigious Berkshire County, I should say, since I know you're from Pittsfield, I'm from Lee. But yeah, no, I've just been training hard, been studying, been watching matches, and just keep myself in the best shape possible, trying to stay as healthy as possible, because you have to be on your A game in order to be in the ring with someone on that level. He calls himself the professor for a reason. You're not going to get in that ring and not learn something.
Now, I recently interviewed Bobby Fish about maybe like 6 weeks ago. He was doing the River City Wrestling Con launch party. And something that's going to tie in to Bobby Fish and our past interview, Julie, with Andy with Mosh Pit, is I asked him what the most bizarro thing that's ever happened to him. And both of them said about them asking fans asking for their used undergarments that they wanted to purchase. Chico, what is the most bizarre thing that maybe a fan has ever requested from you?
I've had a fan ask me if I was willing to sell my socks. And I was like, back in my mind, I was like, I can just go to Walmart and buy a package of them and sell them. But he specifically said, no, they have to be worn socks, and the sweatier the better. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love money, I love to make money, but that's one thing I'm not going to do. So sorry to disappoint, but yeah.
It's interesting some of the things that happen just when you meet fans. There's weird things that can transpire like that, but then there's also a lot of amazing wrestling fans. I have to say, the wrestling community has had such a positive impact on my life. And one of the things that we actually discussed with Andy when we had him on the show a couple months ago, we talked a lot about sort of what is his core message that he wants to send to his fans. And he talked a lot about his experience as a Marine and how that's kind of impacted his journey and sort of the message, the core message that he's looking to send as a performer. Now, Chico, I know that you've done a lot of work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I know that you've done a lot of advocacy work for anti-bullying. Would you mind speaking on that a little bit more and sort of elaborating on how that has impacted you as a performer and sort of the message that you're looking to send to the fans as a performer?
Absolutely. So, of course, we all know a wrestler by the name of John Cena. I was actually inspired by him to, volunteer for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I also have a few people in my life that had gone through Make-A-Wish. So I was already familiar with it, and I saw that WWE works very closely with them. So I knew right then and there, if there's any organization that I would be honored to donate my time to, it's Make-A-Wish. So I've been with them since 2017. I try to volunteer for them as much as possible. And what I love is like each volunteer day is different. It's not always the same thing. Sometimes it's, interacting with the kids like an alumni day. Sometimes it's going to, a local store at a mall and just, advertising Make-A-Wish, or, there's an event called Walk for Wishes where people walk to donate money for Make-A-Wish. So every event is different and it's special, and I get to meet people and hear their story and just learn a lot about them and about Make-A-Wish in general. So if anyone out there would like to donate to Make-A-Wish Foundation, let me know. I'd be happy to help you with that. And you also mentioned anti-bullying. So of course I grew up getting bullied, as a lot of people have, and turning to weightlifting and of course pro wrestling has helped me with that. So it's my way of giving back. And some of the kids that I talk to, they're like, "There's no way you got bullied. You're a wrestler." I'm like, some of the biggest, strongest, most famous people walking the face of the earth have got bullied before. The Rock, he got bullied. John Cena got bullied. But I think when they hear it coming from someone else on a different level, in terms of like I don't consider myself to be famous by any means, but some of these students look at me like I am famous. And so I think when they see somebody that's, in their mind famous that went through that, it gives them hope that, okay, like I'm not alone in this, and I can teach them ways to overcome that and avoid getting bullied or how to prevent it from happening. So yeah, I'm honored to give back. I love educating others about it. And I always said, if I can make a difference and stop one person from bullying others or stop one person from getting bullied, then I did my job.
Chico, I know you mentioned about, people being able to donate, but what if people wanted to give their time? How does somebody get involved, like you do, to go out and do stuff with the kids and stuff like that? And what do you think that people will get from an experience like that?
So in order to volunteer for Make-A-Wish, they don't just let anybody do it. You have to apply online, and they do, of course, background checks, because you got to be careful out there. Some people shouldn't be doing that. So I remember when I volunteered, or when I first signed up for it, I was on a waiting list for a couple of weeks, and then everything went through. And so, but if anyone out there is interested, I can send them the link to it. There's different chapters. Mine is, of course, is Central and Northern Florida. So like Orlando up until like Jacksonville area. But of course, every state, every county has their own chapter usually. So, but yeah, if anyone out there wants to do that, I can gladly send them the link and point them in the right direction. And it's very rewarding too, because there's no like minimum requirements. You can volunteer as little as or as much as you want. So.
And in all of your experience volunteering, because I know that you've done like anti-bullying seminars at schools, you've done, like you mentioned, there's like a large variety of events that you've participated in. Is there any particular experience or story just volunteering over the years? Anybody that you've met that has particularly impacted you and has really left a mark on the person that you are today?
So first off, I had a friend in school. He had a brain tumor, and he actually passed away. We were in the 8th grade. So his wish was, he was a huge SpongeBob fan. So his wish was to have like lunch with like the creators and the voice of SpongeBob. And so that always inspired me, because I remember like one of the last conversations I had with him was him telling me how great of a time he had. And so here's someone who had gone through a lot, you know, physically, emotionally, that we could never even imagine. But yet that one day he was the happiest, luckiest person in the world. So like, you know, hearing the excitement in his voice, despite everything he went through, you know, inspired me to do what I can to, you know, make other kids' wishes come true as well. So there's that. And then a couple of years ago, when I was doing an anti-bullying presentation, I noticed this little girl was crying, and I asked her, like, after the class was over, like, why she was crying, and she was telling me like her brother was had special needs, and you know, he got bullied, and so she can relate to some of the stuff that I was talking about. So not to like toot my own horn or anything, but I went out and I got some like sunglasses and I autographed them to her and to give to her brother. And so, you know, just to at least do something to try to make a difference and put a smile on their face.
Yeah, I remember those hater blockers that you used to wear, Chico.
Yeah, I still have them too. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right, there we go.
And jumping off of that story really quickly, because I know that you had mentioned that your previous experiences, your own personal experience as a child, had a part in sort of inspiring your wrestling journey and your weightlifting journey. And I think that that's a pretty common theme, actually, amongst a lot of the people that I've met in wrestling. And so would you mind elaborating on that a little bit more and sort of just telling us, how did wrestling sort of become like your happy place and your refuge through all of that?
Well, like I mentioned, like most kids, I got bullied. I probably got bullied more than the average kid. I was, you know, really skinny. I had, you know, braces at one point. I had glasses. There were times where I sat by myself in the lunchroom. I was just painfully shy. You know, it's funny because like in front of the camera, I was like super outgoing and animated, but like outside of that, you know, I was just painfully shy. So I was just an easy target. But yeah, I started watching wrestling like consecutively when I was 10. And just right away, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I always loved like watching movies and TV shows and entertainment in general. So I knew right then and there, like, this is my calling. This is what I was put on the earth to do. So it gave me a dream and it gave me something to look forward to. And then of course, when I got into weightlifting and I started seeing results with that, I started becoming more confident and I started getting more respect. And a lot of the people that used to bully me were now like trying to be my friends. So yeah, wrestling and weightlifting just went hand in hand for me. And so it just, you know, I see these guys on TV and I was like, all right, it's going to take a lot of hard work, but I know if I put in the right amount of effort, like I can be on that stage as well one day. So it just gave me something to look forward to never give up and never give in to others, to show that if you want something bad enough, no one can stop you. You know, the only person that can make your dreams come true is yourself.
That's such a great message. You know, one of the most fun times I have is sometimes when the Acclaim come out and cut some promos, and you happen to be on the receiving end of one of those promos, Chico. So what goes into, like, I don't know, the preparation of being in one of Max Caster's raps, or do you even know what he's gonna come out and say before he gets out to the ring?
I had no idea what he was going to say at all, honestly.
Probably a good idea because it was pretty brutal.
I was just as surprised as everyone else was. So our reactions were genuine because, yeah. I mean, you knew it was coming, but you just didn't know what it was going to be. So.
Yeah, because he's had some pretty brutal one-liners, but he's great. He's someone who I know he trained, I believe, at Creative Pro on Long Island, and he grew on me very, very quickly when he came to AEW, and we got to kind of see his character work every week. And I know actually back in 2020, in the earlier part of the pandemic, when we were kind of in like peak COVID season, you also had the opportunity to be in a match on Dynamite and wrestle Jake Hager on TV with Cody Rhodes doing commentary, which I can only imagine was a pretty surreal experience. Do you mind elaborating just a little bit on, you know, what it's like when you're training all these years, you're going to to indie shows all these years, driving all over the place, flying all over the place, and then you finally get that big moment to be on TV under all of the big lights. What was that like for you?
It was incredible, just because, like you mentioned, like I've flown myself and driven myself all over the country, but the match with Jake Hager was actually in Jacksonville, which is a little over 2 hours from Orlando. So the interesting thing was, of course, there was no fans there. So you're like wrestling in this like, big area. You're on national TV, but there's like no fans to feed off of. So it was an interesting moment for me, but at the same time, I was just honored to wrestle on that stage, regardless of whether there were no fans, whether there's 10,000 fans. I always love the challenge, and it's definitely a lot more challenging to wrestle in front of no fans. And I'm sure most performers will tell you that. But no, it was just a surreal moment. It's because, the world shut down just like a week prior to that. So there was a lot of uncertainty. No one knew, how long that was going to last for. But to be able to have that opportunity is something that I'll never forget. And I'm always going to be appreciative of that. It was definitely one of my top moments. And I'm just honored to have had that experience. And, Jake Hager's, he's a true pro, and he's
tough
out there today.
He's a big guy. I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers that are obviously big guys, but he's a big guy.
Actually, I think people don't realize how big he is, but he's tough too. I mean, he has that legitimate background. So whether it's, the college wrestling or professional wrestling or MMA, I mean, he's a very well-rounded athlete. That's for sure.
When you wrestled in front of no fans, and we're going to go back to 2020 here, when you get to Jacksonville and you realize, that there's no fans out there, what is the eeriness? Like, what is going through your guys' mind as far as like the conversations backstage, is how to perform like you normally would in front of a big crowd?
Well, the thing was, that day there wasn't a lot of people there. They only filmed like a small handful of matches. So like, because of like the COVID restrictions, like you could only be there if you had a match, or if it was like a skeleton crew basically. So there wasn't a lot of us there, and there was only like, I think 5 matches filmed the whole day. So yeah, it was kind of quiet, to be honest with you. And I knew a few people that were going to be there. So no, I think we're all on the same page. We're just like, this is an opportunity for us, and we're not sure what's going to come of it, but for some of us, it could be now or never, or this could be a stepping stone to get more opportunities and get our name out there. And so that's the thing about wrestling. You never know if or how many times you'll get an opportunity. So you got to make the most out of every single one, no matter what.
And actually, Chico, you brought up a really great point there, which is in wrestling, they tell you, even if you're not booked on a show, it's like, always bring your gear with you, always be ready. You never know when an opportunity is going to come up. And I believe that you had an experience that ties into that very, very well, when I know that not too long ago, you had done some work with the NWA when they were down in Florida. And it seems like just everywhere you go, you seem to make a very good impression, and you get a lot of respect, and you earn those opportunities. So what was it like working with the NWA, especially now that they're really picking up a lot of steam with this CW TV deal that they've got brewing?
No, it was incredible. I'm a huge fan of the NWA. I love what the product they have. I love the old school feel. I feel like my style fits that to a T. And so that was a goal of mine for a long time. I had emailed them a bunch of times, and I tried to reach out, but I finally got my foot in the door. There's a guy out there by the name of Chris Silvio. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up. He's one of the best managers in the game today. He's also a great wrestler as well. He's an awesome trainer. So I've known him for years, and he put his stamp of approval on me, which he doesn't do for too many people. But again, like you mentioned, I had to work my way up to get that. He's not the type of person that's going to help just anybody. You have to really prove yourself to him, and rightfully so. So yeah, he stuck his neck out for me and put me in touch with the right people. And they said there's no guarantees. You might just be doing coffee runs for us, or picking people up or dropping them off. And I said, hey, regardless of how long I've been doing this, like, I realize I'm no better than anybody else, and I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to prove myself, and if nothing comes of it, that's fine as well. That's the chance we take, and I'm just honored to be here and do whatever I can. And just so happened an opportunity came up. They needed someone for this match, and my name came up. They saw all the work that I was doing, and how I was conducting myself, and sometimes that's all it takes. That's the name of the game. So that's one thing you always have control over is your attitude and your professionalism, and that goes a long way. And sometimes people don't realize that, but yeah. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that Chris Silvio, stuck his neck out for me. I'm grateful for everyone at the NWA for having me, and who knows, maybe you'll see me back in NWA again soon.
I was going to say, speaking of NWA, I was down there in Fort Lauderdale doing some interviews when you guys were taping down here. And, I'm not going to give too much away, but you are a man of many hats as well, too. I had to come find you in particular for something. And, are you now thinking about, maybe the future of maybe transitioning from wrestler into like other roles in wrestling? Or are you really just focused on the wrestling part of it right now?
100% focused on the wrestling part, but I wouldn't rule out doing something else in the future. But I still feel like I have a lot left to give, and I still have many goals, left that I have yet to accomplish. So, but yeah, I wouldn't rule that out again down the road. But for now, it's all wrestling. But then again, you've also seen me on Monday Night Raw. I was the 24/7 ref. I've done security. I've been an underground fighter.
You've been in a wedding?
Exactly. So, I mean, I wear many hats, like you said, and no one wears them better than Chico Adams. So,
and that's why they call you extraordinary.
Keyword, extra.
Yes. And one thing that I wanted to segue into really quickly, because this is something that I've been dying to ask about, and I think a lot of people watching would also be really curious. So you mentioned the name Chris Silvio. You mentioned him being a big advocate for you. And you also mentioned previously that you are one of the select group of athletes that has the opportunity and the privilege to train with at the Dungeon 2.0 every week. And you've been doing that for quite a while now. You've been there for how many years?
Ever since the first day they ever had training, which was August of 2020. So yeah, it'd be 3.5 years. It'll be 4 years in August. So
what has that experience been like? Because I know, Natalia and TJ, they have a reputation for being very generous and for taking really good care of their people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, dying for the opportunity to train with someone with their level of expertise. So what has that been like for you, being under their mentorship?
Honestly, the only word I can think of is indescribable. Some people have said to me, like, "Oh, you're so lucky you get to train there." I'm like, well, I wouldn't use the term luck. I'm very fortunate to be there, but again, they don't let just anybody in. I can't stress this enough because I've had a lot of people ask me about it. It is invite only. It is private. It's not something you can just pay and show up and get in. I've had people ask me for the address. I've had people ask me all kinds of questions, and so if you're there, it's because they invited you in because of your work, because of your professionalism, because of your level of respect. But it's not something that people can just walk up and get right in and slip through the back door. That's not how it works. The majority of the people that train there are people who are signed to WWE or other major companies, and then there's also a handful of us that are in the indies, like myself and Ariel Dominguez, that had indie experience, but we had enough people that were able to vouch for us. And also, there's a couple of people there that started from scratch. One is Cam Fox, and the other is Kai Price. They were both, personal friends of TJ and Addie's, and they literally started from scratch, which is like, to me, that's the best way to do it because, some indie people, including myself, have bad habits, but with them, they learned from the ground up from them, and of course, now they're getting their feet wet, getting indie experience. So, to answer your question, I know it's a little long-winded, but I'm just very grateful to be there because, again, it's the best of the best and it's invite only. And I've learned so much from them. I've trained at many different places before, but this is by far the one that I feel most at home because it's a family atmosphere. We're all pushing each other. And then when you're in there with people on that level, you're in there with an Angelo Dawkins or a Moose or, a Liv Morgan, like you're in there with the best of the best. So you have no choice but to get better. And so you can't get that in too many other schools. So yeah, just very grateful, and I've learned a lot, and I plan on continuing to learn as much as I can.
I was gonna say you name dropped several people in there, and every one of those
Yes.
people are just doing just amazing things, including yourself in there. And it's just it really shows, I think, the difference sometimes between, you know, a school like that. I feel like that just takes you guys and girls to the next level.
Absolutely.
I know I always love whenever you guys have practice. I know Natalia will usually post her videos on her story after the fact. I'm always looking for those videos to see, like, you know, what are they doing this week, or who, you know, who's training at the dungeon this week. And I have to say, it's really cool as well to see so many signed talents showing up there, because a lot of people have already, you know, put in a lot of hours training at the PC. They're already, some of them, they're on the main roster, you know, traveling all over the country, and yet they still go that extra mile to get in that extra training. And so that's got to be really, really cool for you, just to, like you said, be with people that are working at that level. And I'm sure you've met a lot of really awesome people through that experience. I know you can't give away too many dungeon secrets, but are there any lessons in particular? Is there anything in particular about training at the dungeon that has stood out to you, that's been different from anywhere else that you've trained, that's really really resonated with you?
I think for me personally, one of my biggest like struggles was just being like more aggressive and more intense in the ring. And that's something that people would sometimes tell me, like, hey, like, you like the total package, but that's one thing you're missing. And I feel like they've done a great job in helping me bring that side out, you know, being more aggressive, being more intense, changing gears in the ring. And so before, and I still, you know, to this day, I still do the Chico's, you know, Chico suck shtick. And, but they said, like, you know, at one point I was a little too hokey, where now I'm being a little bit more serious and more aggressive and pulling that side of me out to make me more well-rounded. Like, yeah, I can be goofy, I can be funny, but at the same time, I can also turn it up and bring out that killer instinct in me as well. So just yeah, that, and just the basics as well. Just the, you know, mat wrestling, and, you know, just footwork. I mean, the main thing is conditioning too, because you're in the middle of this, you know, middle of nowhere in this warehouse with no AC, especially in the summer. It's like you walk in and you're already dripping sweat, and now you have to, you know, go in the ring for 3-4 hours at a time, and you have no choice but to get better conditioning wise. So that's another thing too, is being in great shape, because it's intense. It's you know, high energy, but that's what you need to be. You know, in order to be the best, you have to go through that, and that's what we all need if we want to achieve our goals. So, like they say, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly.
I want to bring in 2 comments real quick. This one came in right when Julie was done announcing Chico Adams. It said Julie's voice with hard eyes on there.
She's always so sweet.
And Charles LaCroix saying, "You are the man, Chico."
Thank you. We actually,
he's not wrong. No lies were told.
Thank you. Actually, I have split personalities. I'm Chico and I'm the man. So.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of personalities, I know when we did our first interview 4 years ago, we talked about some of your favorite people, from Christian and The Rock, and you mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I should lead into this part, that you probably lived out a freaking dream scenario, okay? Not only did you get to interact with Stone Cold Steve Austin on live television, but you had to toss him his Steve Weisers, and he looked like he was fumbling. They looked like good passes to me, but that experience of just throwing the beers in the ring to Stone Cold Steve Austin on TV, I mean, what went through your mind going into that night, and then when it all finished?
So that was actually, I don't know if you know, that was actually Kevin Owens dressed like.
Oh no, I didn't know.
But no, that's still cool as well. Yeah, so that was in Chicago, believe it or not. And to be honest with you, I actually wasn't supposed to do that segment. I was originally supposed to have a match with Veer Mahan on main event, and then Joe Alonzo, who's in the NWA, speaking of, he was supposed to do that segment, but then they ended up swapping us. So they felt that, it was better off if Joe did the match, and because they wanted someone to do the stagehand segment, they wanted someone to have like either short hair or no hair, and Joe had like shoulder length hair, and they're like, maybe we'll switch you guys out, so you'll do the segment instead. And I was like, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. So, but no, it was awesome, and I actually didn't know that he was coming out dressed like Stone Cold. I knew he was going to be in the ring, so when I hear the music hit, and I'm like, wait, Stone Cold's here, and I see him cross. My reaction was the same as everyone else's. No, it was awesome. Throwing the beer cans, and it's funny. I had people write to me like, "You play baseball or anything? Those are like perfect throws."
They were very good.
I was one of those people.
Yeah,
I said the same thing.
I said, there's no way I can throw that perfectly ever again. But like, the camera's on you, and you're on live TV, like, it's all or nothing. So, but actually, I did get to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin a few weeks after that. I did WrestleMania in Dallas, and actually flying out to Dallas in like less than 12 hours to do something else. Anyway, so I got to meet him backstage. It was brief, but I just said, hey, I was the one that did that segment a few weeks ago, and just shook his hand briefly, nothing crazy. So that was a good way to like break the ice and lead into it. So, but no, the whole experience was awesome. Kevin Owens, he said he's a true pro. So I was very happy with that. And just being in Chicago too, and that was that's one of the rowdiest wrestling crowds is Chicago. And that was the same arena that Chris Jericho made his debut in back in 1999 for WWE. And now, to me, that's one of my favorite debuts ever. So like to do that in the same arena, it was incredible. And of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was my inspiration. He was the reason I fell in love with wrestling. So to do a segment involving him in any way was a full circle moment for me. We'll say that. And on Monday Night Raw, the flagship show.
I know. I remember writing to you when that happened because, I am not like a baseball player by any means. And I remember seeing you tossing those beers, and I was like, the fact that you were able to do that so perfectly, I would have been so nervous. But like you said, you made this pretty iconic appearance on the flagship show. And not only that, but you've made some other pretty memorable appearances as well. One that stands out to me is the wedding segment that you got to be a part of, because I feel like as a fan, I live for those kinds of segments. And I feel like we've seen so many fun wedding segments over the years in professional wrestling. What was that experience like? Like how much did you know going into it? And what was it like just kind of being amidst all of the chaos as it was unfolding?
Well, it's funny because I've done like reffing before in like custom wrestling, but I've never done like I never reffed at an actual like show before in any capacity. So they told me like you're actually the first, I think, ref, like some kind of statistic, I don't know, the first ref to do anything to have multiple pinfalls in a wedding. They said something, I gotta look it up. I was like, okay, great. So no, it was in the back of my mind, I was like, I gotta make this perfect because there's multiple pinfalls and there's a lot going on at the same time. And like it's live TV, you have one take and one chance to get it right, and there's a lot that could go wrong. So no, it was perfect. And I'm the same way. I love watching weddings and wrestling. One of my favorite ones was the one with Test and Stephanie McMahon when the ladies married her.
Iconic.
So, yeah. And of course, like, there's not, you can probably count on one hand how many weddings have actually happened where there was no drama or no
it wouldn't be pro wrestling without that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was really cool for me to do that. And so just to check that off the bucket list of getting to ref for the WWE, even if it was one time, that was really cool. So.
Chico, can I ask you? You brought that memory just popped right into my head now of the Test wedding right now. Yeah. Did you watch it? I know I watched it live with my dad at the time, and just the whole process of the pulling into the chapel with Triple H and screwing over Test of the wedding. Did you watch that segment live? Were you one of the ones that caught that segment live at the time?
100%.
Okay.
I was only like maybe 10 or 11 at the time. So like I'm watching the wedding, like thinking it's all going to go well. They're going to get married. They're like happy ever after. And then of course the whole swerve. And it's funny, like looking back on it now, like I should have known better that things were going to not go as, you'd think. But no, that was one of the most like entertaining segments just because like it was such a perfect like heel move for Triple H to do that. And so I actually got some inspiration. I shared a promo I did. The promo I did was from 4 years ago, and Julie actually saw it, where I was in acting class, and a good friend of mine, I was like, he's always in like a lot of my promos, and I said, I can't think of a bigger like dick move than to like interrupt a wedding proposal. Because I saw a clip online, and I don't know, maybe Julie, maybe you guys have both saw it, I don't know, where like this couple is he's gonna propose to his girlfriend at Disney, and he's on like this certain stage, and like right as she's about to say yes, this Disney like employee runs up and like takes the ring out of their hand, like, you got to get down right now, and like completely killed the moment, you know. And so I was like, yeah,
that's awful.
And so apparently the guy asked for permission, and like someone told him yes, but this guy didn't know it or something, I don't know. But you read all the comments like, oh, you should have waited a few more seconds, he killed her moment, you can't get that moment back. And I was like, that'd be kind of cool if I like purposely interrupted someone's proposal and ruined it. So of course, you know, it wasn't a real life couple, but you know, we made it work for the sake of the segment. But yeah, no, I love that Triple H did that, because it was such a heel move, like completely ruining someone's happiest day of their life. So yeah, I watched it live on TV, and I still quote that to this day.
Well, talk about a heel move. The Disney World guy is probably the biggest heel I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. Disney World?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny because you read the comments on YouTube, and it's pretty divided. Some people are like, yeah, but he's doing his job, and there's, you know, rules are rules. Other people are like, yeah, but come on, like he waited like 5 more seconds, you know, or at least. But yeah, like I said, you can't get that moment back. That's the thing, and it's
I have to go. I'm gonna go watch that after we finish up. I'm gonna have to educate myself. One thing that I did want to ask you about as well. You had mentioned being a referee on TV, and I think something that is emphasized, especially at the WWE Performance Center, is the ability to adapt and the ability to take on different roles and do different things. And I know in my experience as a ring announcer, you know, wearing the earpiece that the referees wear and everything, it's pretty challenging. And I know some people that have transitioned from, you know, doing one role to another have said like, oh, this was harder than I thought it was going to be. And so have you had any other experiences with that where like you were kind of thrown into a situation or thrown into a role, and you had to learn how to be adaptable and kind of you know, make do on the spot?
Yeah, it happens all the time, and that's not only that, but like sometimes, you know, plans change at the drop of a dime. Even in wrestling, you might go out to the ring, you know, thinking you have, you know, 12 minutes, and the bell might ring, and they can say, okay, guys, now you have, you know, 3 minutes, or now you have more time added. And so it's a good way to learn. But yeah, you have to be adaptable. I mean, you're on live TV, you know, you have to be able to work on the fly. You have to be able to, you know, fix things as you go along. So yeah, I love being thrown into the deep end, because that's how you learn. That's the best way. You can plan stuff out all you want, but things can and do change all the time. So yeah, I love just being out there, like whether it's security, whether it's being a doctor, whether it's the 24/7 ref, just stepping out of my comfort zone and doing, especially when it's live TV, because you know, if you mess up, the whole world's going to see it. And so, yeah, just in general. And sometimes you're out there with someone, and you know, somebody might get hurt, or you might get hurt yourself, and you have to be able to know how to fix that and keep everyone safe, while also, you know, keeping the program moving as well. So.
Speaking of being a doctor, Chico, if I needed a doctor's note, can I come see you? You seem to be pretty, you know, an easy guy to get a doctor's excuse from.
I mean, I don't know how valid it would be, but, you know, I'll pull some strings. I'll see what I can do.
That's all we can ask for. That's all we can ask for.
I'll be honest, my handwriting is that of a doctor's, so I got
okay. One step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, you, I think, have done something very creative, which is you've taken all of these different roles that you've performed on TV over the years, whether, you know, it's doctor, security, underground fighter. You've done all these different things. And what I absolutely love is that now you've taken that and you've said, well, I'm an extra. You've seen me as an extra on WWE television, and that makes me extraordinary. And I always think that's one of the best things is when in wrestling people take something that's real, they take something that is authentic, and they make something creative out of it. And so one thing that I wanted to ask, obviously as an indie wrestler, everyone's biggest goal is to get signed by a major company. But aside from that, as a performer, from a creative standpoint, what are some of your goals as a performer that you want to accomplish in the future?
My ultimate goal, of course, is to get signed to the WWE as an active performer. But one goal I have left as an extra, which I have not done yet, is to have a match on SmackDown. Because of course I've had a match on NXT, I've had a match on Raw, I've done, of course, Underground, I've done security, been a medic, 24/7 ref, I was a Bad Bunny, you name it, I've done it. But yeah, having a match on SmackDown is my final goal as an extra. But regardless, every time I'm there, I learn a lot and I have fun. So just to be healthy, just to be happy, and other companies that I have yet to wrestle for that I really want to have an opportunity with is, of course, TNA Wrestling. I think they have a great product, and I love what they're doing. I love their rebranding. And so another one would be Ring of Honor. That's another company that I have yet to wrestle for. So probably my three main goals at the top of my head right now before getting signed to a major company would be to have a match on SmackDown, a match for Ring of Honor, and a match for TNA Wrestling. Of course, I have many other goals as well. That's just the three that come to mind right now. But just in general, just to be healthy, just to be happy, to inspire others, and just to make a difference, because at the end of the day, if you're not happy, then that's what matters the most is doing what you love. And I love what I'm doing, and I say it all the time. Every time I wake up in the morning with my health and I open my eyes, then, I'm grateful for that. And anything that happens after that is a bonus.
Did you learn anything from your experience with DX?
So I gotta admit though that whole pep talk, like we were already amped up to begin with, but like just that whole thing was amazing. That wasn't originally planned. Like that was like a last minute addition. And so, and we didn't even rehearse that, by the way. That was a one take deal on the fly. We didn't know what was going to be said. We didn't know what they were going to ask us. That's why when Road Dogg asked what our names were, we just gave our wrestling names. And then that's why when we came out and they had our real names on the screen, and they were like, they just said their name was, Joey, Ace, and Chico. But it worked out perfectly because then now the announcers used our wrestling names and we got to use our real names. So, no, that was another thing too. It was on the fly, and you're on the fly on live TV with DX, one of my favorite groups of all time. Like I fell in love with wrestling, like I mentioned, because of Stone Cold Steve Austin, but also because of DX. So that whole experience was just a full circle moment for me, and just you gotta be ready for anything. You gotta be thrown into the deep end, and there's no better way to learn than to learn from them. So I learned a lot, to answer your question.
And just jumping off of that, I know we've talked a lot throughout this whole interview about how many legends, how many big names, impressive people you've gotten to work with in some capacity over the years. Of all of the matches that you've had, are there any people that stand out in your mind as being some of the toughest opponents that you faced? Who do you think was your biggest challenge in the ring thus far?
To be honest with you, I'd probably have to say Gangrel, just because he's another one that I grew up watching on TV during the Attitude Era. And I remember like when I first found out I was wrestling him, like it was such a crazy feeling for me, because same thing, he was one of the guys that I watched during the Attitude Era that got me to fall in love with wrestling. So I wanted to go all out and make it special. So I did a graveyard promo, and a lot of people say it's the best promo I ever did. So, but no, he's a pit bull in the ring. I mean, like regardless of how long he's been doing this, like he's a lot bigger than people think he is. And I thought I had good cardio, but his cardio is up there. And so yeah, just physically and mentally, just to be in the ring with someone that's been wrestling before I was even born, who's wrestled all over the world on that level, just physically as well. It was a challenge, but it made me better because of it. And so I've had numerous matches with him, and yeah, he's probably one of my toughest his competitors, and he's a trainer as well. So if anyone out there,
yes,
wrestler, yeah.
I was going to say he's still going with CCW.
Absolutely, it's in South Florida. So, like I said, he's one of the best guys to learn from. So.
It's funny results, for me.
You can see it from the guys and girls that he trains. You know, Ruthie J, another one that's now in NWA that came up through his system from the Asylum now in NWA doing amazing things too.
For sure.
Yeah, she's amazing. And it's so funny because I remember watching Gangrel when I was little. I remember actually playing some of the SmackDown video games. One of the very first SmackDown video games that came out when I was little. And I was so terrified of him at the time, but it's so different now from an adult perspective, and also from the perspective of somebody that's working in wrestling. I love seeing all of his involvement with CCW and seeing all of the people that he's training now. And while we're kind of talking, while we're on the subject of promotions in Florida, I wanted to really briefly mention, I know that you have been involved with WXW for quite some time. And they had just recently announced that they're doing their final show. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about your experience with them and sort of what we have to look forward to at this big send-off coming up?
Yeah, so WXW originally started in 1996, so they've been around for, very long time. It's actually one of the longest running promotions out there that's still going today. But unfortunately, the final show will be on April 13th, 2024. When Pops made that announcement, that was, none of us knew. I think the only people that knew were his wife and his daughter. So when we're hearing that news, we're all hearing it for the first time, and it's something that a lot of us never thought would ever happen. I mean, there were a lot of people that were crying and emotionally upset, and rightfully so, because WXW has been a home and a family for many of us. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't be where they are today, not just in wrestling, but in life in general, if it wasn't for Pops and the Anoa'i family. So it is unfortunate to see it happen. But for me, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without Pops and without WXW. Pops was the one that took me in late 2016, early 2017. He's the one that first got me my first ever booking with WWE, got my foot in the door, and of course from there it was a snowball effect. But yeah, I mean, without Pops, there wouldn't be the Bloodline, there wouldn't be the Samoan Dynasty, wrestling in general wouldn't be what it is today without him. So he's left a huge impact on a lot of our lives and on the business in general. So it is sad to see it go. I know the show is already sold out. I think the building can only hold 300 people by law, and they already sold out of 200 tickets, and they're leaving the remaining 100 because there's a lot of people, a lot of workers and people flying in from all over the world to be a part of the last show. So, but I am thankful that, Pops gets to, close those doors on his own terms. He's the one that created it. He's the one that built it. And so, he deserves to have it go out on his own terms. So it's sad to see it go, but it's such a legacy that will live on forever in all of our hearts. And the things that we've learned from it, the things we can teach others will last a lifetime.
It sucks to see, a promotion that's been around for 30 years now, closing up doors. But I think, all chapters and things come to an end, and, they've done a lot of great stuff, and a lot of great talent has come out of there. So I know it'll leave a lasting impression, not only on the state of Florida, but also on professional wrestling, as you mentioned as well. With WXW closing, we know you got a bunch of cool stuff. I know we mentioned the Bobby Fish match coming up, but I don't know, you're heading out to Dallas, you're traveling, you got all kinds of cool stuff. Is there anything really that you want to plug right now that you have coming up here in the future, Chico?
Actually, yeah. So you mentioned I'm flying to Dallas. I can't say for what exactly, although I think people can read between the lines there. And then this Sunday is my next indie match. I'm going one-on-one for the first time ever against Lyn Dorado at NRG Wrestling in Fort Myers, Florida. I'm really excited about that match because he and I, we've had numerous matches together, like tag team matches, 6-man matches. But we've never actually wrestled each other one-on-one. And so it's a match that I've wanted to have for a long time now, and I feel like I'm better than I've ever been. And so I'm ready to finally have that challenge. And so I feel like I've come a long way since the last time we wrestled, which was 8 years ago. So I'm ready to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 2016, we did a 6-man match in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And that was the last time he and I had ever wrestled at a show before. So
one thing that I was actually hoping to ask you about your upcoming match on Sunday, if there is any chance that Lyn Dorado is watching this interview right now, if there's any chance that he sees this interview right now, what message would you like to deliver directly to him?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now. He's someone, I first met him literally a couple months after I got into the business. And so he's someone that I've learned a lot from, just from training, just from working with him in matches, from sharing locker rooms with him. So I'm just, like I said, just looking forward to that challenge and taking everything that I learned from him and being able to apply that in a match in front of a live crowd and to see if I can hang with one of the best luchadors in the game today. So, like I said in my promo, I already know who's going to win, and that's the fans of NRG. So if you haven't already got your ticket, I recommend you do so. It's NRG Wrestling. It's going to be in Fort Myers, Florida at the Crazy Dingo Brewing Company. I think the show starts at like 6 p.m. I think it's an outside show. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. Let's say, of course, we'll be there. I'll be there. Gangrel, another familiar name we just mentioned, will be there. Kelsey Heather, Steph DeLander, just a lot of great talent will be there. So if you're in the Fort Myers area this Sunday, I can't think of a better place to spend your weekend than at NRG.
I was going to bring up 2 comments here that we got here. We got Charles LaCroix again saying, literally one of the nicest humans I've ever met and a lot of fun to watch in the ring.
Oh, man, make me blush. Thank you.
And Boss B asked, Chico, will you be back in a CCW ring again in the near future?
Well, here's the thing. CCW, they run some shows here in Kissimmee, which is not too far from Orlando. They do, I think it's the first Friday of each month. And I've had a lot of people ask me about that lately. I have some coworkers at my job that go to those shows and are like, hey, I hope to see you there. So I've had the pleasure of wrestling numerous matches for CCW over the years. It's been a little while since I've been there, but never say never. If CCW is watching, then maybe we can make something happen.
Now, jumping off of that point, is there anybody who's wrestling for CCW right now that maybe you haven't gotten the chance to cross paths with yet that you'd like to step toe-to-toe with if given the opportunity?
Well, the current CCW champion is QT Marshal, and he's another one of those guys, the same thing, I've shared many locker rooms with. I've met him when I first started. We actually worked together at our shoot jobs years ago, but he's another one of those guys that we never had a match with each other before, ever, which is crazy because we work for a lot of the same companies. It's just sometimes it's just a timing thing. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going toe-to-toe with the CCW champion himself, QT Marshal.
I like it. Go right for the goal. Go right for the big dog in CCW right now. I like it.
I'm putting that on my list of matches I want to see in 2024.
Thank you.
Now, Chico, I know we need to wrap up pretty soon. You've got a very busy schedule ahead of you for the weekend. But for anybody who is watching and wants to continue to follow your journey through the world of professional wrestling, where on social media can they find you?
They can find me on, I still call it Twitter. I think a lot of people still do Twitter, X, my Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, handle. It's all the same. It's at the Chico Adams. I'm also on Facebook. I'm at close to the 5,000 limit right now. So if you send me a friend request, if I don't add you, it's nothing personal. But yeah, Facebook under Chico Adams, Twitter, Instagram at the Chico Adams. I also have a YouTube channel. I don't really update it all that much, but a lot of my old matches throughout the years are on there. So anyone would like to book yours truly, my email is bookchicoadams@gmail.com.
And I know, Julie, you've got a show coming up fairly soon as well, too, I believe, right? That you're doing ring announcing for?
I do. I have a couple of things in the works right now that I will be sharing.
Let's talk about them.
In the near future, but one thing that I am able to share at the moment, my next show for the Wrestling Federation of America, it is going to be on Saturday, March 23rd. It's in Marlborough, Massachusetts, and it is March Badness. I'm going to be doing ring announcing there, and we are going to have some pretty exciting matches on the card. We've had some pretty great crowds at Tackle Box Brewing since we have sort of made that our flagship location this year. We have Brandon Locke, who is very beloved in Massachusetts. He just made his return after 6 years of being on hiatus at our last show, so we'll be seeing more of him. We have the WFA Heavyweight Championship on the line. We have Mosh Pit, who was previously on the show, who's our current champion. He's going to be defending for the second time against Anthony Katina, the Prince of Primetime. We have women's matches on the show. We have the tag team championships on the line. We have a lot that is going to be happening. So that is Saturday, March 23rd in Marlborough, Massachusetts. WFA Wrestling 1 on Instagram is who you're going to want to follow for more information on that.
Just gonna chime in real quick if you don't mind. So,
hey,
Go for it.
So actually, I had the pleasure of wrestling for WFA last June. I actually went one-on-one with a name you just mentioned, Mosh Pit, and so I can't put over WFA high enough. It's an amazing company from top to bottom. They're not only their production, but their talent. Everything is just, it's how everything's ran is just amazing from top to bottom. So if you get a chance to check it out, WFA, I can't recommend it enough. And by the way, Mosh Pit, we have a rematch coming.
Oh, Andy, if you're watching, I think you just got put on notice.
He's incredible. He's amazing to work with, and just keep your eye. He has big things in the future. But no, I'd love to go toe to toe with him yet again. We made some magic last time, and I feel like we can do it again all over this time, but better.
Oh yeah, the rematch. I got to know about. I mean, I need to make it up to one of these shows up there. And I don't know, Chico versus Mosh Pit Part 2 might just, put my butt in the seat up there, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, we got to get you up here, Tony. A lot of people to interview.
Definitely. Right here at the end, King Atlas dropping by saying dope interview.
Aww.
Thank you, King Atlas. The Titan of Poetry dropping by. Thank you, King Atlas, as always. Now as far as here on Tone and Entertainment, Julie and I are talking about some future projects as well down the line. So guys, we got some interesting concepts we're throwing around out there. But in addition to that, next Monday here on the channel, we were talking NWA, we're talking CCW. Well, I got 2 podcasts lined up, and on Monday we've got the King Bees, the NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, Charity King and Danny B here on Monday. And then we mentioned CCW. And once a year, I have this gentleman on the show, and we're going to have the owner, Nelio, on Wednesday on Toned In Entertainment. So, and then we'll plug one more. Dynamite Jackson out of North Carolina on March 19th. He's doing some great things up in North Carolina. Just saw him at a Firestar Pro Wrestling show this past weekend. Excited. We got 3 awesome podcasts, plus some stuff with Julie, plus CCW coverage, the establishment going on. Pro wrestling action next week too for St. Patrick's Day. We got lots of stuff. I can hardly contain myself right now. I'm so excited.
You're a busy man, Tony. Jeez.
Here, let's get one more in here. We got Kayla, I know from up there in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah,
I'm a huge Julie Cutler fan.
I have to give Kayla Carroll a quick plug because she is actually our official backstage correspondent for the WFA. So the two of us, we're like the dynamic duo, ring announcer, backstage correspondent. I go out there and do my thing. Kayla's doing all the pre-tapes. She's getting all of the juicy behind the scenes info. She's coming out and she's doing all of the interviews in the rings. So she's great.
Awesome. Well, definitely, I know Chico's got to run. We've all got busy days ahead of us. Chico, once again, thank you for being here on Toned In Entertainment this evening.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor and privilege, and hope to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Hopefully not in 4 years, though.
Yeah, we're not gonna wait 4 more years.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do it every election year. We're gonna spice it up a little sooner.
Exactly.
And Julie, it's been a while, but it's always a pleasure to have you here on the channel.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you so much, Tony. And we will, like you said, we have some interesting things in the works, and we will be checking in with you all soon with some updates.
Absolutely. Well, Chico, Julie, again, thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you to everybody that watched this on the live stream, and definitely all of you that are going to be watching this on demand as well. Make sure you're following Chico Adams, traveling all over the place, doing amazing things. And Julie, of course, is always doing awesome and amazing things as well, too. So, Julie, did you plug your socials? I don't think you did.
So the place where you can find me most often is on Instagram. My handle is @TheCrownJewels. Crown is with an E at the end. It's the old English spelling. That's just how we roll here. So if you want to follow all of my different ventures in the world of professional wrestling and beyond, that is the best place to do it.
And guys, actually, we got one more comment here that we have to bring up because Daniel Mac Shaw says, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Daniel Mac Shaw.
Hello, Dan Max Shaw. Dan Max Shaw.
I actually watched the promo that Chico, you and Daniel Mac Shaw did last week as we were getting ready for the interview when you were preparing to go up to OVW from it was like a couple years ago.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, we went to Louisville, Kentucky together, and we had a blast. And so, yeah, Dan's been in quite a few of my promos before, and it's always a pleasure having him. He's the man, by the way. He's a jack of all trades. He's one of, I just said one of the best. He's the best male ring announcer in the game today. He's an insurance agent. And just like myself, he wears many hats. So there's not many people out there more talented than Daniel Mac Shaw himself. And a legend in living color.
And I have to give my quick Daniel Mac Shaw plug as well. He is actually the person that gave me my first opportunity to do backstage interviewing live at Pro Wrestling Action. And it was an amazing experience. I returned to the promotion, and I'm hoping to return to the promotion again at some point. They have a huge variety of talent down in Florida and a lot of great characters. So they always do an amazing job. They draw huge crowds. So definitely give them a follow as well and see all of the great work that they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be bringing some interviews from St. Patrick's Day next Sunday. Luck of the draw. Go get your tickets now.
Yes.
That's going to be an awesome show. I mean, I saw Blake Banks and Marina Tucker as a tag team. I mean, that just won me over right there. That's going to be just absolutely amazing. Plus a whole host of other matches. I know King Atlas, who was here, is wrestling Pretty Rich Wives as well in that show. So definitely a lot of awesome action at Pro Wrestling Action on March 17th. Well, yeah, Daniel Mac Shaw says, thanks, Chico, Tony, and Julie. Absolutely. Thanks, Daniel Mac Shaw, for dropping by. I will be seeing you in about 9 days at Pro Wrestling Action. I'm super stoked. Got my outfit in the mail today, so I'm ready for my St. Patrick's Day interviews out there. So, Chico, we're going to let you get ready because you've got a long day tomorrow. Julie, again, thank you so much for making this one happen. This was your idea, and I loved it. And once you said, "Hey, let's do something with Chico," I'm like, "It's been a while. It's been 4 years. We got to do something with Chico." Again, we won't wait 4 more years to have him back on. We won't wait 4 more years. Well, awesome, guys. Well, both of you keep up the great work. Super stoked that we had this interview tonight. And guys, if you haven't already, follow Chico, follow Julie, and make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.